Hello everyone, I'm Ben Dai from the Blizzard Cinematic team, and I'm the director for Legacy of the Void Intro Cinematics. For the behind the scene featurette, we're going to watch the cinematic, pause along the way, and talk about some of the work that goes into it. Some of the artists on the team, including myself, will hopefully give you an insight in some of the challenges we faced during the production. Let's check it out. Ire is the Protoss home planet. It used to be green and very lush, but since Zerg's been occupying it for quite some time, it become a lot more desolate and war-torn. The early version of the cinematic, we had a couple of different locations, a Nexus and a Warp Gate, but we finally decided on the battleship graveyard concept because it just really speaks to what had happened to this planet. We thought about covering the whole entire landscape in Zerg Creep at one point, but we shy away from the idea in favor of the more Icelandic, war-torn, rocky, volcanic look that we see in the cinematic now.
Our proud people became refugees. And yet, they could not shatter.
Here's our cast of heroes. We have a Probe, 3 Zealots, and 2 Templars. The Templars are a huge challenge for us because the complexity of his design. He has a very big headdress. On top of that, there's a collar around his neck, and all of these armors are draped in cloth, so we have to pay special attention to them when we do the cloth simulations. The Zealot in the middle is the captain. I wrote a little bit of backstory for him. He's a little bit older than the rest of the team. He has a scar on his face from the previous battle. He's like a veteran. The Zealot design goes all the way back to StarCraft 1. It's been updated since then through many iterations on the in-game model and also from our cinematics. He still had the dreads and obviously the side blades as well.
When we saw the storyboard for this shot, we knew that'd be a big challenge for the entire team. Everybody would have to be involved, and just the coordination from each department would have to be very on point. The idea of doing the shot in slow motion was from director Ben Dai, who wanted the audience to really grasp the color effects traveling from one ponytail to another. The main drawback with doing a shot in slow motion like this is that every single element will have to be calculated 4 times as much as a usual shot. Characters, environment, piece of debris, rocks, any sort of effects such as the side blades or the color effects traveling down the ponytail, every single element will have to be calculated 4 times as much as a regular shot.
During production, sometimes we use models from previous cinematics to save on time and budget. The first appearance of this model was in Build a Better Marine, and then we featured him again in Kerrigan's Dream. In order to reuse this model for the Protoss cinematic, we remodeled him to give him a little bit more pronounced muscles, and then we also had to re-texture him again to fit in our new pipeline.
For the initial concept of the probe, before we started modeling, we went through a lot of iterations. The initial design was looking way too Terran-like, but with a lot of 2D and 3D exploration and concepting, we ended up with a really cool sports bike feel, which I think a lot of Protoss fans would actually appreciate. Creating the 3D model was a fun challenge, especially with all the moving parts and the opportunity to noodle out some of the exposed mechanical detail inside.
These Baneling Destruction shots were really fun for me personally because I got to experiment with some new FEM-based techniques for breaking apart the Baneling's body. But obviously, the bulk of the shot's impact comes from this nice goopy acid that I made using a flip simulation technique. Behind that, you can see that the Baneling is smashing into this cool procedurally generated shield that Isushi made, and that just really ties the shot together.
The effects team worked on 3 important moments where characters appear from nowhere or disappear into nothing. These were the Zealot warping, the Templars merging, and the Archon formation. One of the challenges of these effects was to create a robust procedural system in which we could animate the revealing of the character's surface. With this procedural system, we were able to iterate over many versions of the effects to address art direction. For this Templar merge effect, the director wanted to give it a painful feeling as the characters were eroded, torn apart, and sucked into a point in space. Using the procedural system, we iterated through many versions to achieve the best timing and speed for propagation of the Templar's erosion.
Here's our Archon. He was a little bit unique compared to the other assets because he had to be really big and then he had a lot of effects involved. His scale had to be big enough so that he could actually fight with the Ultralisk, but we couldn't make him too big or it wouldn't look realistic coming out of the 2 Templars. To make this scale kind of more believable, when we designed him, we had to make sure that there was these larger surfaces that you could read from a distance. But then when you get up close, there were these tiny details that would show up, making it actually look that much bigger.
The ultimate showdown between Archon and the Ultralisk needs to feel really epic. We went through a lot of different versions of this fight. It evolved throughout the production from storyboards all the way to effects and lighting. Previs was really the key to help figure out how this fight goes down in 3D space.
So this time, we had the chance to feature a Protoss pylons from nice and up close, which is one of my favorite assets. One of the main challenges in designing the pylon was we had to give it a fairly believable sense of weight and mass because the asset is fairly big. As a matter of fact, it was our 3rd largest asset in the show, right behind the Protoss carrier and the Archon. To give it a nice sense of wear and tear on its finish, a burnt metal look was developed and applied on top of the whole pylon.
Today, we retake our homeworld.
Personally, I'm a big fan of Protoss. I want to create a cinematic that reflects the playing style of this race. One of the most widely used strategy in multiplayer games for Protoss is called proxy pylon. The idea is to create a pylon behind enemy lines. Once you build it, you can warp in all your units and take your enemy by surprise. That was the base inspiration for our cinematic.
And with it, our legacy.
I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody who worked on this project. I hope you enjoy watching this behind the scenes special, and I'll see you on BattleNet.